Can you hear me all right? Excellent. So, languages come in two modes, spoken and signed. Sign languages are super fascinating, but they're outside the scope of this talk. Spoken languages all consist of sounds. You put those sounds together and you get words. Put those words together, you get sentences. Put those sentences together, you get conversations, and thus we understand each other. Now, all languages are made up of sounds. All languages are not made up of the same sounds. So when you go to learn a new language, you have to determine what are the sounds in that language. They're like mine. Sometimes they're super not like mine. What am I supposed to say? And then you come into descriptions full of nonsense. Like, it's halfway between an R and an L. I don't understand how R and L are 2 points on a line. Like what? Oh, we're auto-playing slides. That's neat. Just this one, Google. Thank you. Stay. All right. Where was I? Trying to figure out how to pronounce this sound. Roll. Like I sound like a murloc. That can't be right. Or you find examples like this, where they explain the unknown with the unknown. Oh, it's the rolled R from the Spanish word pero, or the CH sound from the German word Bach. I don't speak Spanish or German. This tells me nothing. And it's not just languages that you don't speak. We also have problems describing the sounds in the languages that we actually do already know. As a great example, this gift of a tweet came across my feed on Sunday night. So Laura Hall poses this poll saying, which way do you pronounce the state nut of Texas? I say this word pecan. I don't know which one I'm supposed to pick. I think I picked the wrong one. If only there was a better way to talk about speech sounds. Something more technical, something more quantifiable, something more useful. Well, good news, there is. And that is the International Phonetic Alphabet. Ooh, the other IPA. And what this is essentially a character set. It is a standard notation for speech sounds. The goal is to give every unique sound its own unique symbol. So you look at it, you know exactly what it is supposed to say. And this set is made up of 107 letters. It's based on the Latin alphabet because it was invented by a bunch of English speakers in the 19th century. 52 diacritics. That is what non-linguists call accent marks, right? Little decorations above or below or beside. We'll see those later. 4 prosodic marks. That is things to denote stress, accent. Yeah, we'll see all these in a little bit. But that's a pretty small set altogether, which is great because it means you can learn it. And each symbol is trying to describe technically, how do I make this sound? Which is great. And it's cool that we can do this, because it turns out there's a finite set of speech sounds that are possible. It is constrained by our biology, because we make these sounds using our bodies to move the air back and forth in a really controlled manner. There's only so many ways you can do that. Side note, I consulted someone who's been in school for linguistics more recently than me. It's like, is there ever been an instance of a speech sound not made with our, this apparatus? Like, we can clap, why isn't that a sound? She's like, nope, it's never been a thing. It's all just in here. And when I say in here, starts in the lungs, comes up through the throat, In the throat, you have vocal cords, which vibrate or don't. I'm doing this because if you put your hand right here, you can feel it. It comes up a little more. It comes past the glottis, which is a little flap, which we'll hear later. And then it comes into the mouth where the tongue gets involved, and that's a whole thing. Turns out the tongue is a precision instrument. This little like cauliflower looking dude. You see this a lot in linguistic diagrams. This is a cross section of a person in profile so that you can see all of the points where the tongue might be touching or nearly touching to affect the way the sound comes out. There's a lot of places. I find this diagram disturbing. I'll see it again. So there's video of like MRI footage of a person making a sound. It grossed me out. It's freaky. Tongues are inside. Anyway, to get past that, you've got the lips to work with. The air might also come out through the nasal cavity. These all make different sounds. And so you can describe a sound pretty well by asking yourself, how is the airflow constructed? Like, how much and in what manner? And then where, again, in this apparatus is that happening? And we've got charts. But before I get to them, I need to warn you, I am from Texas. Try as I might to sound like someone from Seattle, I still do have a little bit of a Texas accent. I'm not great at making these noises, and some of them I'm not going to attempt because I don't want to insult the native speakers. We're going for good enough for a lightning talk, right? Even if you maybe don't get to hear me do it or hear me do it with Texas accent, or you're still like, I don't really know what that sounds like, hopefully you'll be able to look at that and at least understand, oh, this is what I'm going for. Like if I practice, I know how I might make that sound one day. So, said how much is the airflow constricted? If you say, well, not really much at all, then we're talking about the class of sounds you may have heard of called vowels. You know you are saying a vowel because you can just keep on saying it. There's nothing stopping. Say it till you get bored. The chart is on the right, and what it is describing is your tongue is raised a little bit somewhere in your mouth. Is it more raised towards the front, or more in the middle, or more in the back? And then how open or closed is your mouth? So if you read, and then you'll see pairs of symbols. Are the lips unrounded, that's the left, or are they rounded on the right? So that top left one, E. May sound familiar, it's definitely in English. Our U is the U. Dead in the middle is U, schwa. So if I start saying E and then pull my tongue back, you can hear it slide back to U, right? Let's see if we try. E. Okay. And then if you go from, if you read the front unrounded vowels, from top to bottom, you'll have E, I, A, E, A, Ah. And you see how my mouth just incrementally gets bigger. Languages do not use all of these, obviously. Many of them only use 3. They'll have an E, U, and an Ah. Some will use some more. English has a lot of vowels, more than average. Scandinavian languages have more than us. It's intimidating. On the left here, I have, these are IPA transcriptions. You see them in brackets or slashes, that's how you know you're reading IPA, of many of the vowels that are in English. So, bean, I'm reading down the left here, bin, bet, bat. In the middle to show off the schwa, you've got sofa. See how there's just kind of a bit at the end? That's your schwa. And then on the right, you've got boot, book, boat, but, bought. That vowel is not in every American dialect, it's in mine. You say caught and caught differently, good idea. And that all, that's your backward C, and then bought. So vowels, those are fun, but they're only the surface. If you've got more than basically no constriction, then you're talking about consonants, and this is the main consonant chart. And what we're looking at here, down the vertical, you've got how much constriction are we talking, and like what, where, basically describing the constriction, and then across the horizontal, you've got where in the apparatus, call it the place of articulation. You want to sound fancy. So first row, plosives, those are complete stops. Cut off the air, open it again. And our first place is bilabial, that means two lips. So, and again, you see how sometimes we've got two characters in a cell. Are the vocal cords vibrating or not? Voiced and voiceless. So the first one is always voiceless, second one is always voiced. So your bilabial voiceless plosive, it's like appa, appa. B is abba. If you kind of feel inside your mouth with your tongue, you feel behind the teeth, there's this like ridge. Call that the alveolar ridge. And a lot of sounds get made there. If you bounce your tongue off it, it's ata, ada. Yeah, feel free to try these with me. Retroflex sound, that's the next column. The tip of the tongue is bent a little bit, so you go ada, ada. So you bend it and then hit it against the alveolar ridge. It's fun. You travel more back in the mouth and you get to the roof of your mouth, the palate. So that makes palatal sounds. Aja, aja. Farther back, and that does not exist in English, so if that feels weird to you, that's why. Farther back, you've got the soft palate. You feel how it gets soft. It's weird. That's your velum. We make sounds there too. These are in English, aka, aga. You go farther back, you get to the dangly bit, the uvula. We make sounds there too, aga, aga. And if you go further back, I don't know exactly actually know where in here the glottis is, but I can feel it. If you say the word uh-oh, you hear the catch actually at the beginning and in the middle, uh-oh. You can feel it, right? That is the glottal stop. It's my favorite IPA symbol, actually. Next row, nasals. This means we're redirecting the air out the nose. Same places of articulation. Ma. Oh, we've got a new one. Labiodental means lips against teeth. Ma. Not in English. Alveolar ridge. Na. Retroflex. No. 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 Palatal velar. No. That's the NG in English. I'm so excited about this transcript. You're doing great. And I'm sorry. Where was I? Uvular nasal. The next one down is a trill. That's where the tongue bounces rapidly. If I say that, of course, the first thing doesn't involve the tongue at all. Bilabial trill. I don't know what languages that appears in, but it does. You notice some of these boxes are blank. It's because we haven't seen that come up anywhere. And some of them are shaded gray because we're like, you can't physically make that noise. The body won't do that. So trills. If you trill your tongue against the alveolar ridge, it's the Spanish rolled R that they were trying to get us to say earlier. You can trill the uvula. I don't think I can. I've tried and failed many times. I can get the fricative though. do that in a minute. If you've got a trill, right? If you just do that once and then stop, that's the tap or the flap. Which, ara, ara, that's the R looking one. We call those rhotics because they're R like. Ara, ara, ara. It's a retroflex. Ara. It's fun, right? And then we've got the fricatives. They run the board. Fricative, besides being just a really fun word to say, the airflow is constant, but it's turbulent. So with the bilabials, these are not English. You get a va. Sorry, into the mic. Va, va. The F and V are in English. Fa, va. Then we divide up the, so in between the teeth or right behind the teeth is your THs. Tha, va. Alveolar ridge, asa, za. And then right behind it, asha, aja. The retroflex ones I'm not so great at making. Asha, asha, aja. Palatable, ahya, ahya. The velar, aha, aha. I think that's more uvular. Aha, ha, ha. Yeah, there it is. That's a uvular fricative. That was my Hebrew class. Took me a semester to be able to say it R. Further back in the throat, these are sounds you see in Arabic, probably other languages. I will not do these justice, so I will not try to make them. But they're there. The pharynx is another stop in the back of the throat. Beyond that, you've got lateral fricatives, which are L-like sounds. So the tip of the tongue is against the roof of the mouth, but the sides are down. So the air flows out around the side. Sha, sha, sha. Yeah, that's a tricky one for me too. And then you've got approximates, which are, they're semi-vowels, basically. The tongue is raised a little bit, not very much, more than a vowel, I guess. This is where the American English R comes in. It's the upside down one. It uses this funny symbol because it's actually a really weird sound. You think about what you're doing when you say a-ra, a-ra. It's like the tongue is raised a little bit, but the lips are round and it's kind of also raised at the back. It's a weird noise. So palatal aya, aya. That is where we get that's why that's not a vowel. We represent that with the J, aya. And then down at the bottom are lateral approximates. These are all L-like noises. So again, it's coming out the sides. Allah, Allah, I can't do the palatal one. I'm gonna try. That's the main consonants chart. There are more. These are rarer. These are rarer because these are the consonants that use the lungs in weird ways. There's some clicks. They don't involve the lungs at all. Right, more or less. Again, have never studied a click language, so if I'm doing it wrong, I'm sorry. Implosives, you can make sounds by breathing in, but it's real hard. I have Swedish coworkers, and they will say, yeah. It's like a polite, I hear you, yeah. That's the only time I've ever heard this. And then you have ejectives, where you like compress a pocket of air and like punch it out with your consonant. Let's see if I can do it. Yeah, there we go. So those are fun. There are more. These consonants get their own little subchart because they don't fit in the box. Usually because the tongue is involved in two places, or the lips are rounded and the tongue is involved. So like W, that's our W. Voiced, so vibrating vocal cords, labial velar approximate. So the lips are rounded and the tongue is kind of raised towards the velar, but not very much. If you do all that, you say awa, awa. Okay. Again, the rest of these I will not attempt. You can read the descriptions and understand why I will not attempt them. Voiceless epiglottal fricative. Okay. There's the diacritics I talked about earlier. Things you can add above, below, to the side. And these are usually used to indicate something slightly abnormal is happening with this sound. Like normally your vocal cords vibrate, but for some reason we're whispering it here. That gets a little circle underneath it. It's devoiced. Why? Or sometimes it's breathy voiced, which is a thing. And sometimes it's creaky voiced. And this is totally a thing too. You can, if you see the little superscript W, basically your lips are rounded when you're making the noise. So aka, aka. And there's more fun there. Yeah, it's all about fine tuning. Now, stress and tones. The important things to note on this chart is you put a little tick at the top of the start of the syllable that gets the stress. You put a little subscript tick at the secondary stress if you're being fancy. The word there that is transcribed is phonetician. I see what you did there. These are all the IPA's official charts. I see a lot it's kind of a colon to indicate a long vowel, so instead of a. I do really appreciate that the syllable break down at the bottom is illustrated with the word react. So this is officially a JavaScript talk. And then we've got a set of diacritics for talking about tones. If you don't know, if you aren't familiar, some languages differentiate words based on the pitch of the word. I have not studied tonal languages, but I can say that it's like the difference between toffee and coffee, right? You hear those like, oh wow, those are really different words. There's just one letter difference. You say ma versus ma, and those are as different, you got yourself a tonal language. And this is how you can indicate what's going on. So that's the IPA in a nutshell. If you wanted to transcribe a sentence in American English, this is what it might look like. I did not make this transcription. I pulled it from UCLA's practice your phonetic reading. What this says is panini is also a brand of grill made specifically for grilling these sandwiches. It's fun. So now we have the knowledge. We can go back and rewrite the super unhelpful statements we saw at the beginning. Instead of saying halfway between R and L, just call it what it is, an alveolar tat. Ara. That's the Japanese consonant. Ara. That's all it is. Don't make it hard. Sing the R in Pero. Got the alveolar trill. Pero. And the CH in Bach is the voiceless velar fricative. Bach. See? Isn't that better? And so, we can finally take Laura's quiz. All right, I'm going to read you the choices and then I want to find out. So do you say pecan, 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 or pecan? I'm sorry, last one was pecan. They all get muddled in my head. So who says pecan? Anyone? All right, we got a couple. Pecan. Maybe one or two. Some questioning people. Oh, it changes. Oh, that's interesting. Lived in lots of different places. Yeah, that'll do it. Does anyone say pecan? All right, a little more for pecans. How about like I say it, pecan. All right, I think that might be the winner. Good, you have made the right choice. We'll let Laura know. All right, thanks.